Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of Marketing Land Live. Today is May 20th. It's Friday morning. It's a little bit after 9 a.m. Pacific time. Welcome to all of you who are watching live on Blab, as we are every Friday at 12 noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. And also welcome to those of you that are watching the video replay after the fact on Marketing Land or on Blab or wherever. And we may soon be having welcomes for those of you that are listening on audio, as we will soon be investigating turning Marketing Land Live video show into a weekly audio podcast for those of you that prefer to listen in your car or on the train or wherever. So anyway, cross your fingers that we figure out how to make all that happen. My name is Matt McGee. I am the editor-in-chief of marketingland.com and searchengineland.com, and we are talking about the week that was in online marketing with three members of the Marketing Land / Search Engine Land team. Why don't we get right into introductions? And we do this in alphabetical order, so I believe it would go Amy, Ginny, and then Greg. Okay? So your name, what you do for us, with us, what you, where in the world you're located, and then today's question is, I want to know, do you pronounce it GIFs or GIFs?
All right.
Amy.
All right. So I'm Amy Gazenhouse. I'm Marketing Land and Search Engine Land's general assignment reporter. I cover a bunch of our CMO interviews and a little bit of everything else. If it's an animated image, I announce it GIF. And if it's peanut butter, I pronounce it GIF. So there's
all right. So the image is a GIF to you.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
They're GIFs.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, Jenny. Your turn.
Okay. All right. Ginny Marvin. I cover paid search and other advertising news for Search Engine Land and Marketing Land, located in Portland, Maine. And it is GIF. I do not care what the creator says. It is GIF. There is really no debate. It is GIF. GIF sounds terrible.
All right, Greg, you're up.
So I'm Greg Sterling. I write about a bunch of stuff for both sites, a lot of mobile stuff, virtual assistants. I get a lot of legal material out there, policy material. Local. Local small business. So those are kind of the topic areas. Occasionally I go into other things. I say both because I don't know how it's pronounced, GIF and GIF. So I have a slash whenever I say it. Did you see that GIF / GIF? So that's how I deal with it.
Very diplomatic.
That's perfect.
Jenny, I am a child of divorce, so that's why I'm so diplomatic.
Okay. That's funny that you should actually mention that, Greg, because the reason I asked this question is because at Google I/O this week, I found myself using both GIF and GIF depending upon who I was talking to and which version they used.
So you just
would
mirrored.
Just parrot back whatever you said.
Yeah, I'm just like going wherever.
Well, so
you want to call.
Were there any prominent people who used one or the other that you encountered?
Oh, I can't remember. It was, a bunch of Google PR people and various other reporters. You're kind of hanging out in the media pen, like, all the before the cattle call and all this sort of stuff, and conversations just come up. I don't remember exactly who used which version. I just know that I used both versions. I'm like, wait, didn't I say GIF yesterday? Why am I saying GIF today? Is it GIF or is it GIF? Which one did the guy that actually created it, which did he call it, and which one should we?
Well, so there's a theory of which I can't cite right now the name of it, literary interpretation, where you sort of disregard what the author says about the novel and you just impose your own version of what you think the book means. So we can say whatever we want. We can develop a third pronunciation, a silent G.
Jive.
Or je, gif. The French pronunciation. The gif file. Did you see the gif?
That's perfect. This is great too, because for people that are tuning in, this is what our lunch editorial meetings are like. We like get nothing done and we just have funny conversations with Greg Sterling leading the way. That's awesome. All right, let's get to the more serious topics of conversation on the show. Enough of the GIF versus GIF. For those who are joining us for the first time, Marketing Land Live is a weekly show. We're here every Friday, 12 noon Eastern time. We usually run 30 to 60 minutes, tends to be a little more closer to 60 lately. And we're just talking about things that have been going on in the marketing world for the past week or so. Opinions are each of our own. They don't represent all of Marketing Land and Search Engine Land. Like we don't all as a team agree how to pronounce GIF or GIF. And the props, if you like what we're saying, look, see, Greg is winning in the props right now, 32 props. You just click if you're watching the live stream, you just click the little hands. Where are they? Right there for me, but I think it's reversed for you.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
You just click the little hands, and that gives props to whomever. It's like you're saying, yeah, I agree with you and what you're saying. You're really smart. So we love getting props. It is not, however, a scoreboard, and there are no prizes at the end of the show. So there you go.
I get paid more if I get more props. So more props, please, everybody.
Don't tell that out loud. All right, let's get going. So this week was Google I/O. It's their big annual developers conference. It's still going on right now, right? Today is day 3. It started on Wednesday with all the big keynote talks, then more talks yesterday, more talks today. Some of our crew are actually watching some of the live streams right now for coverage purposes. And so I was there, Danny Sullivan was there, and the big news for those who missed it came on Wednesday during the keynote, and just as you'd expect, just a whole laundry list of items. I think for me, Greg, I will start with you. I mean, I think the big news was this combination of the Google Assistant and what's it called? The Google device is called Google Home, right? The little speaker kind of thing. It's the competitor to Amazon Echo. And I think before we even get into that, I think we should sort of clarify so people know what we're talking about. When you talk about Amazon's, move into the home, we always talk about the Echo being, the thing, but actually the brains is Alexa, right? Right. Alexa powers the Echo. It powers Tap. It powers Dot. So Alexa really is the brains, and then the Echo is just the device. Similarly, for Google, it's this new thing called Google Assistant is sort of the brains, and Home is the device. No surprise, I think, that Google made this announcement, right?
Right. I mean, I think the Wall Street Journal or somebody like that had broken the news that they were working on the device. But in terms of the Assistant as a platform or an intelligent brain or the successor to search or whatever we want to call it, Google has been talking about that for years and years and years, right? It's often sort of jokingly likened to the Star Trek computer, but they've been working toward this for many years. So I think there's no surprise at all. I can say more stuff, Matt. I'm just trying to be respectful.
No. If you have more, go ahead. I mean, the thing that I think the word you used correctly there, and I'm glad you said it, is that it is a platform because it's not just for this one device. I mean, they also talked about the Assistant in terms of this new, what's the app called? Allo? Is Allo?
Allo,
right?
Allo, more French.
Allo is the new app, and so they're sort of, and it sort of builds on what they've done in the past with Google Now and.
Well, so can I say that I am just incredibly relieved that they finally came up with a name for this thing, because we've been talking about Google Voice Search and Google Now, and people have been using the term Google Now for their virtual assistant, and now we finally have a name, the Google Assistant, which is unimaginative. It would be better to personify it like Alexa or Siri or Viv. But nonetheless, we have a name now. Thank goodness.
But are they committed to that name? Like, it kind of feels like they're not 100% committed to Google Assistant, that it's almost like a placekeeper, right? Like, they're not making a big deal of the name. And Danny's write-up, he was like lowercase a. So.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that may be that's ironic because all of these announcements are kind of a placeholder because none of these products are available yet.
Yeah. Yep. My thought on the no name was that the no name keeps it agnostic in terms of it's going to just be the underlying thing of everything Google is this, AI machine learning assistant that is, you just think of Google
Yep.
as your go-to for all your answers. And so it gets away from that branding as like an Alexa or a Siri is something different. It's Google, and Google is my life. And Google knows everything about me, and I ask Google everything.
But it's funny because the media will impose this on them. I certainly will do my best to impose this as a name on them. But Google by itself is kind of cold. The thing that Alexa or Siri or Viv or any of these sort of more personified AI tools brings is a personality, which I think is quite useful. If you're going to talk to something, it's sort of better to have a sense that there's a pseudo human there somehow. Right.
Yeah, but when I say, okay, Google, I guess I don't have a sense of, like Alexa lounging in her spacebot or something, but
that's exactly how I view it. It's exactly my image in my head. How did you come up with that, Jenny?
Awesome.
But it personifies. That's the kind of weird thing is it personifies Google itself, and it doesn't have a personality necessarily to me, but it gives. I don't know if there is something, anthropomorphic about anthropomorphic about.
No, that's not the word. That's not the word.
No, it's not.
It's not the word. No, you're right. Your emphasis is screwing it up. It's anthropomorphic. God, why now? My brain is blank. So you could say anthropomorphic.
I'm going to do a search.
Anthropomorphic.
You guys keep chatting.
Anthropomorphic. There
yes,
you go. That's it. Anthropomorphic. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
But it's like it's the only company that's taking that route, and I'm not sure it's necessarily a bad one because it gives Google a little bit of a warm and fuzzy feeling to the don't be evil. I don't know.
Well, I agree with you. The OK does sort of have that function. It's weird. So it makes the interaction with Google more conversational. But they do to sort of take your position. They don't have to create a second brand in that way. So I'm very confused by Amazon Echo versus Alexa. So there's like two brands there. What do we call this thing? Yeah, so you're right. I think from a certain point of view,
we just got the day that they announced Home, we got our Dot in the mail finally, Matt. So now we have the Echo and the Dot, but they're Alexa. It's confusing. I think
it is confusing, and having the two of them. Did you set yours up already? And so that do you use the same command to talk to both of them, or did you use separate commands?
Same command because they're in different floors.
Okay, see, ours are just one room over from each other, so we have different commands because I'm afraid that if I talk to Alexa, hi there, she's just lit up for me, that I don't want the one out in the family room to start answering and all this sort of stuff. So, be quiet! I'm chatting on the show.
So, what do you call your other one?
The other one we use Echo as the command word, but
echo.
No, it can't hear you, and I have headphones on, so it can only hear my voice. So, yeah.
Well,
no.
So what's interesting about the Google device, which in all seriousness, is that I love the Echo, the Amazon assistant or Alexa, but it has big gaps in what it can do because it's not a search engine. And so Google, with all of its knowledge and all its structured data and all its capabilities, really is in a position to create a much more complete experience, I think.
Yeah. And the not having good search is a huge gap, I think.
Now they have A9, right? Amazon has a search engine, A9, but they sort of maybe took their foot off the gas because Udi Mumber who's now at Google still, I think, was their head of search for several years, and then he went to Google. And I assume that Amazon sort of just stopped investing in that, but they do have search technology.
Yeah. Well, I think if you search for a product, it can find that super quickly. But any basic question, really.
Yeah, it's the Echo device. I don't want to say her name. The Echo device is just fine on fact-based searches. So if I were to ask how tall the Space Needle is, or how long the Great Wall of China is, or when some celebrity or politician or whatever was born or died, or any of that sort of like the knowledge graph stuff that Google does, it will do just fine for that. But if I am doing searches related to, local businesses or, almost anything that's not fact-based, that's a big hole for the Echo. And Greg, I agree with you right now. That's where I think that was one of the things that I was thinking about this week at I/O, is that from what it sounds like, Google Home is going to be really, really strong in the areas that Echo is really, really weak. And so I think there's a real, a huge opportunity there. I'm not a huge Google product user. Even when I had Google Glass, and they always talked about how, use your Glass to answer your Gmail and to, check your Google Calendar. Well, I don't use Gmail and Google Calendar aside from the minimum I need to for our work-related purposes. It's not my main. So all that extra Google product stuff that I'm sure Home will make easier, you'll probably be able to check your email and you'll be able to check your calendar. That doesn't interest me, but the ability to get searches and all this other stuff that Google does really well does interest me.
Let me throw one other thing in, which I think is really important. So Google announced Home with a bunch of partners, many of which Uber and OpenTable and a bunch of others. And you can do a few transactions with Alexa. You can order a Domino's pizza, which I haven't done, and you can order Uber, which I haven't done. And Alexa,
well, you can also do one-click Amazon ordering.
Yes,
if you have
of
it,
course.
or voice,
right.
The equivalent of one click.
Yes.
You can also do voice ordering.
Okay, so that's all that stuff is valuable. And then they integrated Kayak for travel information. And I was testing that out. I wrote the article whenever it was this week, I guess, on that, or maybe it was last week. Who knows? But all the days bleed together into one. But so I went through all these travel searches. How much does it cost to fly to Hawaii, and rental cars and hotel information, and it's amazing because if you get into the flow of, if you're saying the right words and you're responding to the prompts, you're really having a conversation with the device, because it's multi-stage, multi-step. Like, I want to reserve a rental car in Boston. When do you want to bring it back, et cetera, et cetera. But the frustrating thing about it is you can't do the transaction. You can't say reserve that car or give me that hotel. And so when Google talks about these integrations, like I want to reserve I want to eat at such and such a restaurant at 8:00 on Saturday, and you can make that reservation, that's a huge deal, right? And that's the vision for Viv, the successor to Siri, in terms of the personnel who founded Siri and are now at Viv. Transactions are a key part of all of this, and maybe in terms of the business model as well, ultimately, or advertising opportunities or lead gen or something. And so that's where I think Google is also going to shine, and that'll put pressure on Amazon to do more of these integrations where you can actually transact, do a reservation or something.
Transact outside of Amazon.
Yes.
Because I think you're right, because it's like a narrow vision of on the Amazon side to have that so tunneled into ordering on Amazon.
Yes, well, maybe if Amazon's product vision didn't include those third-party services, now it has to, because if Google delivers on the promise of this device, people are going to switch.
Yeah.
Well, but Amazon's vision Amazon has that whole skills section where, as you said, Kayak and Domino's and what have you you can create apps right in there to work within the the Echo.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's going to have to broaden that out considerably and accelerate that whole program.
And Amazon also has the relationship with its consumers,
yes.
Shopping experience that Google doesn't have. So there's like this whole go to buy stuff versus who do I go to search for my fourth grader's homework answer, right? So there's two different reasons you would use these items. Although I'm curious about how seamless would ordering on Amazon via Google Home be? And would that just right? Like, wouldn't you have?
Well, we don't know yet.
Right. Well, and the other thing, I mean, to think about like the purchases on Google ad testing that they're still working on, to think about how that could then evolve into voice activation is interesting to think about as well, because I mean, they are working on, instant checkout, and so
somebody, just to throw this in, Matt, because I think you were, I don't know if you responded to it, but yeah, you did. So
I was going to bring what Kevin said
about
in the chat.
Messenger. Yeah.
Like, so what is going to win here? Is voice going to win, or are bots going to win? That's two different ways to sort of get to the same. I think they're trying to get to the same place in the end.
I think they coexist. I think it's to some degree situational, right? I don't think that voice will make bots irrelevant. I think bots aren't going to supersede voice. I think it's going to be situational. But I think what'll be interesting is if Facebook tries to do some voice enablement. They're placing a big bet on this whole bot kind of thing, and I think it'll pay off for them. But we'll see if they expand.
I hate to call out other media outlets, but I was very frustrated by a Gizmodo headline a few days ago where it said it was from coverage from the keynote where it said, and this gets to what you were just talking about, Greg. It said Google Home is going to be the final nail in the coffin for Amazon Echo, and I'm just like, it's not a zero-sum thing, right? They can coexist, right? It's not like the iPhone didn't kill Android or Android didn't kill the iPhone. There's lots of happy Android users. There's lots of happy iPhone users. So this idea that Google Home is going to come along and suddenly nobody's going to want an Amazon Echo or whatever other device may be out there. I just think that's, pure fallacy. And so let me ask you guys. So I think several of us at least have the Amazon device. I'm interested. I said this on Twitter. I'm kind of scared to death about bringing a Google device into my house, like something that's always going to be listening, right? And hearing everything that goes on. Like it just really scares the crap out of me to do that. But I think in the end, when that thing gets released, as long as it's a reasonable price, I'm going to want it. So do you guys? So when Google Home comes out, let's assume it's a reasonable price. Are you guys going to get one?
Yes.
Yes. I just have to figure out which color scheme I'm going to get. So it'll take me a while, but I will get there.
I have to tell you what was going through my head when you were posing this whole scenario, Matt, is that I imagine the two devices like in close proximity from one another on a table, insulting each other. You bitch. No, you bitch. I'm better.
There was a video. It went around like a week or two ago of some guy that rigged up his Siri to talk directly to his Echo, and it was kind of clever actually. Yeah. He didn't have any gamesmanship like that, but yeah, that kind of thing's going to happen. Amy, are you going to be interested in getting one of these things? Flat out, no.
But here's my question. So the home was definitely appealing to me. So, but I wonder, I do wonder if in the individual's home, is it a zero-sum game? Am I still going to use Echo or Alexa, whatever? Am I going to use Alexa and Google in my house?
For the smart home, it will be zero-sum. You might use one as a Bluetooth speaker and one as a primary sort of tool. But if you're, part of the reason why Google is doing this is because Amazon now has this smart home foothold that it doesn't have, notwithstanding Nest. And so you're going to connect your automated devices, thermostat and lights and so on and so forth, refrigerator, stove, TV, to one of these systems. It's going to be a system, right? And they're not all going to be interoperable. So that's going to be where the zero-sum stuff happens for people.
TBH, I don't need my refrigerator connected to the internet. I just don't. There's no scenario in which I want my refrigerator, my oven, my toilet, any of that stuff.
Your lights.
Your toilet.
The lights. Yeah. But I can see your.
Yeah. But 15 years ago, would you have said you needed an Echo or 20 years ago, right? Like you would have said.
No, you're right.
You evolve, like, because eventually there won't be a hardware device. We'll just have a house that listens to us, right? That or doesn't even listen to it. We don't even have to talk. Like it just.
It just intuits what you need.
Yes.
Well, I must admit that I like talking to these devices, and I want to be able to interact with them in a more natural way and say more things and have them and be understood and not have to say, my daughter had a friend, my 16-year-old daughter. I actually have 100 children, and this is just a story about one of them. No, I have two kids, two daughters. One is 16, one is 10, and the 16-year-old had a friend over, and they had the Alexa Echo device outside, and they were playing music. And I heard my daughter, I was downstairs at one point last night screaming at it, Alexa, Alexa. And it's very frustrating if you can't. The kids want to interact with these devices in a more natural way, and so I think we're moving more and more and more to that. And it's amazing. The technology is amazing that is allowing this.
Yeah, it is. It is.
On a related note, Google, as part of the keynote, said that, and this plays right into this talking to the device and doing searches, said that 20% of searches in the Android app, and on Android and in the Google app are voice searches. Greg, is that level, that 20% number, surprising to you in any way, or is that about what you would have pegged it?
Well, I have two responses to that. So years ago, I think I put this in the article that I wrote a couple of years ago, or several years ago now, Eric Schmidt, who I think at the time was CEO, said that 25% of their searches on Android, I think he was saying the Android platform, were voice searches, 25. So that was a bigger number than what Sundar said. And so that's weird because it's not going down. So either Sundar was being conservative or Eric was exaggerating at the time.
Oh, did Greg freeze?
Mm-hmm. At least for me.
He looks like he was right about to make. It's like those State Farm commercials where the agent disappears.
He's going to make a very good point too.
You can see the intensity and focus.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, hopefully Greg will rejoin us at some point. Jenny, did you want to touch real briefly on the some of the news related to the Firebase analytics and the app installs? I mean, we could probably do like a month's worth of shows on all this stuff, but go ahead and
well, I mean, the one thing that Google particularly wanted to have, was spotlighting in that announcement about the Firebase analytics, which is basically Firebase is Google's
who knows?
Kind of from the ground up big app developer platform. So with Facebook's Parse shutting down, Google has a great opportunity to step right in. I think there was, the last number I saw was like 600,000 apps or app developers were on Parse. So they'll be looking for new home over the next year before Parse totally shuts down. And so that got analytics built into it. So that was that big announcement. But what, along with other news for new features for universal apps, which basically lets app developers just set up one campaign and promote app install ads across the whole Google ecosystem. Google said that their app install ads have now driven 2 billion app installs. Right. So ad-driven installs is 2 billion. And that's essentially the same number that Facebook quoted at its developer conference earlier this year at F8. So, we always kind of think that Facebook was sort of first to market on the app install ad. And so this general thinking has been that they are eating Google's lunch. On that, it definitely helps that Google has started putting ads in the Google Play Store. So, I mean, I don't know what percentage of the app installs have been driven by that, but it's certainly that's an advantage that Google has that Facebook obviously doesn't. So, but bottom line is they're sort of still competing neck and neck.
It's the new. Every year it's something
battles.
else, right? That they, somebody releases one stat, and then the next company comes along. Yeah. Oh yeah, well we're doing this really well too, and it's just strange to watch.
Us.
Yeah, strange to watch them do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
All right, so there was also a bunch of virtual reality stuff going on this week. Daydream, I think. Yeah, Daydream is what they're calling their platform. It's going to be open to a bunch of third parties to sort of build headsets and all this sort of stuff. And then Google is also going to, they said finally, they waited till the second day to say, oh yeah, we're going to make our own Daydream headset too, by the way, just FYI.
Yeah, that was, because you definitely did not get that impression at the keynote that they were going to do their own. Yeah, no, I mean at the keynote, they, they specifically had that graphic showing, this is sort of our rendered version, sort of like the reference design for all you that are going to build your own headsets. And that's all it is. This is all we're showing. And then there was no talk about Google doing its own until day two. It's like, yeah, by the way.
Yeah, by the way.
I always get the feeling they're like going to test the waters with reactions, like specifically media reactions, and like pull back or let go on information depending on response. So, them creating their own was kind of like, well, we're not going to talk about this until we see what everybody says just about the general announcements, and then we'll to.
Yeah, I think I don't know if it was just waiting for reactions. I think it was more wanting to get that, they know that day one of I/O is when all of the press attention is there. I mean, it's not just the nerd places like us, that are focused on marketing. It's not just like the Android websites and the Google sites. I mean, like, the San Francisco TV stations were there, San Francisco newspapers, LA TV I saw was there, USA Today was there, just all kinds of, general press. So I think that's what they wanted the general press to report. And they knew that a lot of the general press would not stay for the day two stuff. So I think that tends to be more what was going on. What else do we want to? Is there anything else we need to cover from I/O? I mean, my gosh, we could literally do the whole show just talking about. Google now has so they have Google Voice, they have Google Hangouts, they have Allo, they have Duo, they have all sorts of messaging and communication apps. They've probably announced 5 more just in the last hour. And
I know. Do you think they're going to consolidate? I mean,
I don't know. I can't figure out what they're doing with all that. It's such a mess. And it's just, let's create a new app. Let's make a new app. Let's, and you've already got all these things that are sort of, we still have Hangouts and they're still a thing. But now we're going to, do
they'll mostly crash and you won't have audio, but, still there.
It was very, very, very strange to see all these new, and I guess the one, for that Duo app which is, looks exactly like FaceTime. I guess the difference is that with FaceTime, you have to have Apple account, talk to Apple account, I think. And so with Duo, it's based on phone numbers. So literally, my mom, who is, 83 years old, could use this to call me, and do a voice call phone to phone without having to have a Google account, all this sort of. So I guess there's a little thing there, but that was one of the other oddities. And then the other, really the other oddity from this week is that all these things Google announced, there's no date on, usually you're like, all right, well, here we're doing this, and here's when it's going to be available, and here's what the price is. But every one of these things, the Daydream stuff, the Google Home, all the, these apps, it's all, this summer or this fall, and there's no price information. So it's very strange because it was so vague, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
And also with like these features that are definitely cool, like Duo, how you see who you're calling before they accept your call, right? Or Allo, which is this machine learning texting that will respond to text for you. And I just can't help but be like, I don't want that. Like, so many of my texts are like, what do I want to say here, right? Like, I don't.
No, I think you're going to be like, oh, thank God. I mean, it's like an emoji, right? Yes. I mean, you would never think that you just send I mean, you don't even have to write okay anymore.
Right.
So
right.
I think it will, I think it'll transform how
Not just
the
emojis.
effort we have to spend.
It's not just emojis. It's animated gifs.
Yes. Right. Yeah. I mean, to go back to the Gboard, that the Gboard keyboard is awesome. And because I can be in Slack and send a GIF without having to, I know exactly the GIF that I'm sending. So I'm not beholden to whatever Giphy or Jiffy is going to append. And it's easy and fun. I don't know. And the fact that you can search right in it, that and the instant apps, I think, are two really big moves for Google in addressing the problem that they keep confronting of all our mobile time is spent in apps. And what does that do to Google's usage? And so you've got Gboard and instant apps, and it kind of negates that problem, puts Google everywhere.
Yeah,
and
Gboard. The Gboard thing was interesting. I installed it and started using it, and I wanted to keep using it, but now it never shows. I need if I need to reinstall it, it doesn't show up anymore when I'm typing in any app. I have to reinitialize it or something.
Yeah, no, I don't know what happened over the last couple of days. I have to keep going and pressing the little globe icon and then get back to it. I don't know, because for a while when I first you have to keep pressing that. I don't know why. I don't know if that's my iPhone saying stop it, or
I think that's what I'm forgetting. I'm forgetting is that I have to choose that. I have to actively choose that as the keyboard.
Yeah.
Anyway. So.
Yeah.
All right. Greg is trying to dial back in on his phone. He is. I don't know what you guys are seeing, but I am seeing him pulsing, his glasses and his hair just pulsing. So hopefully Greg will join us at some point. Let's move on to, we're almost 40 minutes in. So let's move on to some of the other topics this week. Topic number 2, dose, not 4, 2. Jenny, this was one that you wrote up. Google had, it's not just I/O, I think it was on Monday or Tuesday, they had a bunch of announcements related to the retail space, including product listing ads showing up in image search. Is that a big deal?
Yeah, I think it will be a big deal, because I think image search is a big deal, and being able to find products through image search is a big deal. And now having retailers be able to seed those immediately, I think is going to be a boon for Google and for retailers. So
is that live right now, or is that coming soon?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's live now. I mean, it's been in testing since Q4 last year. And Merkle, those guys at RKG, Merkle were the ones to first write about it, that found it. And they were already seeing an impact for their retail clients. So I think, yes, if you'll start seeing them sooner if you're not seeing them yet. So I think it will be a big deal. I mean, it's one more way that those PLA ads have been so effective. And so now you see Google trying to get them essentially anywhere they can. They've gone to Google. I mean, they've gone to YouTube. They've gone to third-party retail sites. Image search makes perfect sense. So I think.
So if I do a search for, I don't know, what would I do an image search for some sort of, like something DVD related or some sort of electronics. I might see the PLA widget box kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a carousel at the top of the image search. So it's essentially it's the top real estate on the image search is going to be ads.
All right. I haven't seen it yet, so I'm curious to see what that looks like. I do find myself, to be honest, when I'm doing searches, looking for products, clicking on those PLAs more than I ever have in the past.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's, if there's if better targeting or whatever it might be, more advertisers, who knows, but I am using them more.
Well, there is better targeting, and there's better targeting because Google has made so many more demands on the the type of information that the retailers put into their product feeds. So you have to have your brand information has to be right, your product numbers have to be right, your GTINs have to be right. So that is all been in an effort to be able to serve ads that actually match the queries so much better. And then that's why you're seeing the share of clicks going to PLAs continuing to rise because of that targeting is getting better.
Right. All right. And speaking of retail issues, Amy, you picked up a couple Amazon-related stories earlier this week. I mean, one of them is just this insane number that Jeff Bezos announced in a shareholder letter that they have reached $100 billion in annual sales, which is just, I mean, it's off the charts to.
Right. They said they're the fastest company to ever hit that milestone. So I guess 94 was when Amazon started. So a little over 20 years ago.
I think so. 94, 95. Yeah, right around then.
So, yeah, he had some interesting quotes. And I guess at the shareholder meeting, the one quote that sticks in my head was how he said he's going to make sure everybody feels irresponsible who aren't Prime members. Like that's, where they want everybody to dial into. And then, so a segue from the Prime members, there was a story in Wall Street Journal, which Amazon wouldn't comment on, about possibly as soon as the end of this month or start of June, they're going to be adding more private labels to the platform. So,
I mean, selling their own material, basically.
Right.
Yes.
Against big vendors that are already on, which is, well, they're not going to talk it up, but it's coming.
But this is a big issue for retailers, because they're seeing, and this is happening, where their top selling products, I mean, Amazon knows what's top selling, right? Obviously. So they turn around and make it themselves.
Right. And then and not just make the product, but then they have all the data underneath for pricing, where they can adjust pricing through the day, it's kind of like this catch-22, right? For the retailers, they want to be in front of all these shoppers that Amazon can offer them. But then in doing so, they give up all this data that Amazon is using for their own sinister. No, that's I'm showing bias here, but
it could be used that way, but to give Amazon credit, they already have something called Amazon Basics, which is their own, and I've bought Amazon Basics, the HDMI cables, right? So if you used to have to spend $30 for a simple HDMI cable, you go on Amazon now, you can get it it's called Amazon Basics. You get it for like $4.99, and I've ordered many of them, and it's high quality. They work great. No loss of quality, audio, video, whatever. So that's all I order is this Amazon Basics HDMI cables now. To Amazon's credit, their own. A lot of the retailers, the third parties, often have better prices than if you quote buy through Amazon. So I'm not too worried about that aspect of it.
And also, speaking of third party or big retailers, there was another story this week. Gap CEO Art Peck, he had a comment about considering selling Gap products on Amazon and how they would be delusional not to consider it. Now, granted, Gap is suffering somewhat, but it's just interesting to see such a major brand say, "Yeah, we'll consider going over there as well." So, and I don't think Gap's the only one thinking in those terms either. So,
no, not at all. No. Not at all. Yeah. Well, and the Amazon doing its own direct, private labels, it's no different than Whole Foods doing 365 and, all the other
every
retailers we go to, or I mean, mass market stuff. So.
Right. Yeah. I mean, so it makes that sense that way. It's and a lot of, if you go to a Whole Foods or a Target or whatever shopping store it might be, a lot of those self-branded products are actually made by the competitors and they just sell them to Target and say, okay, Target, here's our mouthwash, here's Scope mouthwash. You go ahead and put your label on Scope mouthwash and sell it as Target label. So I'm just, I wonder how all that's going to play in with what Amazon is doing, and is Amazon going to be, selling Samsung products as Amazon label products and that sort of thing.
So this private label story said this was the products are focused on perishable goods, and how so it's their first broad push in the perishable goods market, which is essentially kind of taking their customers, to the grocery store, right? Like it's like fruits, nuts, coffee, household, the things you can get on a, grocery store or Target run, that's what they're going for first. So it'll be interesting to see how that expands and just how far reaching they go in the next few years. So, yeah.
All right. Shall we move on to light?
Right.
Say what?
I'm sorry. I was going to say, and they're also opening physical stores too.
Yeah. He
right?
said, Bezos said this week that we can expect more physical stores and not just books as well.
Right. So they're all over the place.
Interesting times we live in, right? All right, let's move on. Let's move on to the lightning round. Greg is back and pulsing for us, which is, as someone said I think Barry said in the chat. Yeah, Barry said in the chat, it's very soothing. Thank you, Greg, for the pulsing. It's okay. All right, so let's move on to lightning round. We have 3 or 4 things there, real quick. Let's start with the news. It's not confirmed yet, right? Twitter will reportedly stop counting links and photos against the 140 character limit, and there was much rejoicing in the land, was there not?
Yes, much rejoicing. Yeah, no, I mean, I think they need to include usernames in that too, handles.
Oh.
And so if I reply to you, the @JennyMarvin doesn't count.
Yes, because you get in those situations where you're replying to 4 or 5 people, and then all you can say is, okay.
That's true.
I mean,
That's true.
The limit on how many you could have, because then it turns into like those emailed forwards from 10 years ago where you were like, and you're on like this Twitter reply with, a million other Twitter handlers, right?
Well, I mean, you see it already now. You've got 5 people and people are saying, get me off this thread. I'm not in this anymore. But it's when somebody replies and then somebody else replies and then you're replying to all. And yes, so, but still, there are legitimate times when you're talking to 5 people and it makes it very hard. So.
Yeah, they would be good if they were to do something like that. It would be good for them to have a button that says, I don't want to be like, you should be able to remove yourself, right? So yes. Like if I think if I do a Facebook post and I tag our entire crew, whatever amount of us there are, I think you can then go and say, no, I don't want to be notified if there's further comments on this post. I think that's how it works.
Yeah.
So,
and I don't actually, now I'm wondering, I don't even know, because I use TweetDeck, if you can mute a conversation on Twitter.
I'm not sure you can mute individual. You can mute. I think it's all account based.
People. Yeah, that's what I thought.
All right. Okay. Why don't we? There was one for Reg, but he's pulsing, so I think that's his reaction to that story. So we'll skip that one right there. Jenny, Bing Ads Editor 11.0.
Yeah. So Bing has released its version 11 of Bing Ads Editor, the desktop tool that you use to do bulk editing and management. So it brings it in line with what AdWords Editor 11 offers. So there are there's advanced search actually in Bing Ads Editor I prefer over what they've got in AdWords. But it's basically kind of bringing parity to those 2 tools, which is super handy for users to not have to remember how to use 2 different tools. The other thing that Bing just announced yesterday is a Chrome extension for monitoring, to check to see if your universal event tracking tag, which is their conversion tag that it also powers all the remarketing. So there's a Chrome extension for checking to make sure that your UET tags are installed properly.
There you go.
So, little handy tool.
All right, and then one last item on the lightning round was something Barry Schwartz picked up yesterday from Google I/O, is that Google is beta testing, and this is for just general search results, beta testing a real-time indexing API, which the way it was described is if you're a sort of a trusted website, you will be able to send your content like immediately, real time, new pages, new articles. Like for us, it would be new articles that we publish, send it to Google for indexing like instantaneously, which sounds interesting. It kind of caught me, like I was like, Google's really incredibly fast already. I didn't know that this was actually an issue, but it's intriguing nonetheless if they're headed in that direction. So, all right. We'll wrap up the lightning round with that, and let's go into what's coming up. Ginny, you have an event next week you want to tell us about real quick? Anything that we can expect?
Yeah, so Google's hosting its Google Performance Summit on Tuesday, and that is where they announce a lot of AdWords and some analytics news for the coming year, and that will be live streamed at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific. So Tuesday. Actually, yeah, and this year they're actually promoting it within the AdWords UI. So if you are an AdWords user, you've already probably seen the notification to register for the live stream. But there'll be a series of announcements from AdWords and some analytics stuff on Tuesday.
Okay. So you'll be at that, and we'll have coverage on Search Engine Land, Marketing Land as needed as well. Amy, anything you're working on that you are able to tease or preview for us?
I have some interviews with CMOs coming up next week. Dun & Bradstreet CMO talked to me about how his brand used the marketing stack and marketing technology they use to what they called a brand modernization, which is an initiative they've been implementing for the past year. So, so that'll be next. We're looking towards next week to publish that. I have a few more in the hopper: Weight Watchers, SunTrust Bank. So,
all right. So then the Dun & Bradstreet thing will be on Marketing Land, I would assume.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm not working on any stories. But that's okay. What else is coming up is that we have our Social Pro conference in Seattle, June 20th and 21st. The early bird rates for that expire May 28th. So get yourself signed up if you want to save a couple $100. SMX Advanced, which is our it should sell out, I would think, very soon, because I know we're getting close to selling out already. I've seen some of the emails and tweets about that. SMX Advanced is June 22nd and 23rd. The early bird rates for that expire tomorrow. There is also the 8th annual Biggest Search Geek contest going on related to SMX Advanced. I think you get a free pass, 2 free passes, I think, to SMX Advanced if you win. So go to biggestsearchgeek.com for more information about that. So why don't we wrap things up? Where you can find Greg Sterling at G Sterling on the Twitter machine. And you can also find him on Blab, just pulsing into general conversations at times. It is very soothing. I agree. Amy, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Amy Gazenhouse, right there in the top corner. You'll see my handle.
Okay, Jenny.
Jenny Marvin, Twitter. Is that right?
It is for me. If people watch the replay after the fact, like if they none of this stuff shows. None of the.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. That's good to know. Ginny Marvin on Twitter.
Okay, and we just lost Amy. Oh my gosh, people are just dropping out left and right. Okay. So I am at Matt McGee on Twitter. That's the best place to get me. You can follow our websites at Marketing Land and at SEngineLand on Twitter. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/marketingland, facebook.com/search engine land, and as well here on Blab, blab.im/marketingland. Reg, thank you for trying so hard to get back in. I don't know if you can hear or... see.
Comcast.
Reg is winning. He's winning the battle of the props, Amy is now trying to come back.
Oh my gosh.
Ginny, thank you for being here again this week. Safe travels next week, and thank you to everybody who tuned in. We will be back here next Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. We hope to see you then. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.